Up with CJ show. Today we have Shepherd Hoodwin, and we're going to be talking about his book, The Journey of Your Soul. Yeah, woohoo! There is his book. And we're going to be talking about your soul's evolution. This is part 3. We started off by talking about our roles that we take, our essence and our roles, lifetime after lifetime. And we talked about different souls that we travel with. And today we're going to be finishing some parts about our essence and then talking about overleaves, time permitted. So welcome, Shepherd.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
All right, so tell us about the where this work is derived from.
The Michael Teachings is a channeled body of material that first came through a channel named Sarah Chambers in Oakland, California in 1973. She was a member of a metaphysical study group of friends, and they had been studying Gurdjieff since 1969. They were into everything, really. And a couple of years before, they had started channeling at a Ouija board, and they had worked with different entities. And then in 1973, a group called Michael started coming through, and it was a totally different kind of information that started coming through that is really unprecedented. We've never seen something channeled that was a whole system.
Right.
It's sort of like a system in the way that astrology is a system, but it's not astrology.
Right.
But it's similar in that it has its own terminologies. And these concern the structure of the soul, how we as souls planned our lifetimes, how we made agreements with other souls to be parent or child or nemesis. It explains the mechanics of karma, how you form karma and then dispatch karma as a means of learning about exploring light and dark. So according to Michael and many other metaphysical teachers, we as souls crave experience. We almost don't care what kind of experience it is, because every experience we have will refine us on our journey to become higher in consciousness. And we need experiences so that we have challenges to meet.
Right. Even if they're bad experiences, they help us.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes those are the most growthful ones.
Right.
And so your Michael reading chart, which is
it's an example of Gideon's Michael reading chart, which is my husband, and then also I have one for me as well, which is my Michael reading chart. And they're very different. If anyone ever wondered, like, oh, this just stuff is a bunch of hooey, like, it seems like, I mean, it's so complex and so detailed, and it very much describes a particular person because there's so many attributes of which we covered before. Tell us a little bit about the essence and the role of frequency in that.
Well, so you'll notice that the chart is divided into 2 sections. The top is essence. I don't know if you can see that. The bottom have the overlays. So this is another way of saying the soul, or the part of you that is permanent, that you take with you into every lifetime as a human being on Earth.
Yeah, can you put it right in front of the camera so people can see it, like almost in front of your face? Oops, no, hold back close to your face. Like this. Yes, on front of your face, then people can see it.
How's that?
Yes. Okay, so there's the first part that's essence, and then the other part is overleaves.
Right. So the overleaves are the traits that you have in this combination for this lifetime only. Yes. Right. Yeah, that's clear. And I believe you're going to put up an example of a chart on your site. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's actually, I have to put one up on my site, yes.
Yeah. And your site is?
FiredUpWithCJ.com. Thank you.
And mine is Shepherd Hoodwin.
Shepherd Hoodwin, SHEPHERD, Hoodwin.com, for people to take a look at the chart so they can follow when they're actually listening to this interview. Okay, so tell us about essence, and then also about frequency and previous cycles, which are the 2 that we haven't hit yet.
So in the earlier interviews, we started going through the chart from top to bottom, and we got as far as male-female energy ratio. And so the next item that we haven't covered yet is something called frequency. Now again, because frequency is on the top half of the chart, it is something that characterizes you in every Earth lifetime. So this doesn't change in another lifetime. And your frequency has a number of 63 on a scale of 1 to 100. And so you are in the middle range, but sort of on the upper end of the middle range. Frequency is your speed of vibration. It gives you a certain texture, you might say, as a soul. High frequency people feel more airy. Low frequency people feel more slow moving, more dense. If you have a low frequency, chances are that you go through your life experiences in a pretty gradual, one foot in front of the other type of way. If you were a very similar soul, except with a high frequency, your lives would look very different, because with high frequency, you'd be one of those people who burns through your experiences quickly, who has a lot of intensity, who's maybe quite dreamy, kind of up in the clouds or buzzed. So everything on the chart is a way of giving souls an opportunity to experience everything that life has to offer.
Right. And what's that? My husband's, what's his number?
His is a 78, so he is a high frequency soul. 78 is quite high. So it's not that different from yours at 63, 78. If you are within 20 points of each other, you'll probably be pretty comfortable. Right. But let's say your frequency was 20 and his was 78. There would be some issues in the relationship, because you'd be like you were running with different internal clocks, and it would be harder to align that. Of course, people do, but you make adjustments in order for that to work.
Right. And are most people clustered around the midpoint, or
yes?
So it's I assume it's like a bell curve where there's not as many people on the extremes, and so my husband and I are kind of above the midpoint in terms of higher frequency, but we're not like really. My husband is on the higher end, but he's not at that like.
He's not 100.
2 standard deviations outside of that. Okay.
Yes.
And just as a frame of reference, what's your frequency, so we get a sense of what it feels like to be with people different frequencies?
Well, I'm the boy next door. Mine's 64 and yours is 63.
Okay.
So we vibrate at a very similar speed. And that's one aspect of a relationship that will tell you how easy it is for you to align with that person.
You know, I've had interviews with, have you ever met James on Prague before? Because I think he's...
Yes, he lives near me,
okay,
yes.
So I don't know what his frequency is, but when you talk to him, I get like I'm like buzzing, like all over the place. I'm wondering if that's an example of someone who's at a higher frequency.
I actually did his chart, and I can look it up. Maybe when we're on a break, I'll take a look.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Oh, that's great. I love that you've done his chart. Okay, so so that's what frequency is. What does previous cycles mean?
One grand cycle starts when you, as an eternal spark of the Tao, or you could say unit of consciousness and the all that is, decides that you want to experience a particular life form on a particular planet. And so it goes from your first physical incarnation on that planet through the last, and then 6 more planes of creation. You go then full-time from the physical plane to the astral plane, and then to the causal plane.
Oh, my goodness, okay.
Yeah, through the Akashic records, into the mental plane, the messianic plane, and the Buddhaic plane.
Wow.
And then you re-enter full-time the Tao, the ground of all being, the non-dimensional sphere of things, the source. Okay. So you extend as a spark of the Tao a part of yourself into a dimensional universe, and then you slowly work your way back. And along the way, you have experiences, and you learn from those experiences. And then you take what you've learned and how you've expanded love, how you've explored something that had never been explored before in the history of the cosmos. You bring that knowledge and that depth back to the Tao. And if you decide, let's say that was the first time you'd ever done that, was the first time you as a spark of the Tao ever inhabited a planet with a particular life form on the physical plane. And then you're back in the Tao and you say, let's do it again. Mm-hmm. And you go to a different planet with a different life form that may be humanoid, it may not be, totally different. And if you're on the second one, then you have one previous cycle because you just did one and now you're on number 2. Okay. The average person on Earth has had 4 previous cycles. The highest we know anyone on Earth has done is 19 previous cycles. If you go to planets more toward the center of the universe that are much more advanced, the average could be like 100. And that would be a very different experience of life than what we have here on Earth. What's fascinating about planet Earth is that this is a grab bag. This planet has just got people with no previous cycles and people with 19. That's a huge range. So some people are ultra complex and some people are ultra simple. And on Earth, we have a huge diversity of plant and animal and mineral forms. Mm-hmm. So we've just thrown together this crazy mixture, and it's very growthful. We learn a lot from.
Okay, so mine is 11, and I know Gideon's had a really high number.
This is 14.
14 out of on average be like 19 on Earth. So that
19 is the highest we know. Okay. For example, Jesus had 19, but the average is about 4.
Okay, so if I went there and back, I mean, this is a number that's true for every single time I incarnate, but if I've gone there and back, let's say I go through another cycle in the next, 100 years. I don't know, I'm making something up, like 200 years, whatever. would then how could this be the essence, which would be my number each and every time? Because I thought this was our number, or way we come back each and every time. So doesn't this previous cycle change?
Yes. On your next cycle,
yes.
If somehow you were now on a planet where the life form looked like Big Bird, right, and everything on this chart would look different. So, okay, your current chart says here that you have had 11 previous cycles. Uh-huh. Let's say now, 1,000,000 years from now in the future, I also happen to be on that planet, and you happen to come to me for a Michael chart. Instead of saying 11, it will say 12.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Because you're in the next cycle.
Okay.
But when you're a human being on Earth, every lifetime, it's true that you will have had 11 previous cycles, because this is your 12th sentient planet. And by sentient, I mean you are inhabiting a life form that is capable of purely intellectual function.
Okay, so this isn't me as like I came as like a duck or a sparrow or a snake, you know.
Only if it were a very intelligent duck.
Okay, but this says in human form, I'm at 11. You know, when I in thinking version, I'm at 11. But could I be a dolphin, which is a thinking being, or it has to be sentient, live, human?
That's a great question. Dolphins and whales, the cetaceans, are people too. They have a full consciousness that humans have. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they're a little more advanced on average than human beings. They're incredibly smart, and they are, as we are, capable of purely intellectual function. And by that I mean you can plan ahead for the future.
Right.
You can make a budget.
Right.
Now, animals are very smart. They're really much smarter than most people give them credit for. Mm-hmm. But they don't function in a way that says, I think that next month on the 15th, I'm going to have a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make a budget.
Right.
They don't say, okay, I have only so much money, and I want to
Right.
buy this, but I also want to buy
But
that.
like monkeys, whales, dolphins, they're of a different form. So these could have been 11 lives as a combination of monkeys and dolphins, right? Or humans. It could be, it's some combination thereof, where I've gone
Well,
there and back from the Tao.
this is going to blow your mind, but the universe is obviously incredibly huge and diverse. And there are life forms that are capable of sentience that you may have inhabited, that you, as CJ, would not even recognize as being an intelligent life form.
Oh.
You could be like a gaseous blob. You could be a chunk of silicone that
Right.
oozes along. So they're not all humanoid.
Oh,
Um, they,
fascinating.
they could
Yeah.
be animals that you know. Like, so let's say you were on a planet where the intelligent life form looked like a duck,
Yeah.
but it would have more brain capacity. It
Right.
would be, it would have more complexity.
Right. Like Planet of the Ducks, same idea.
I think that's your next movie.
Exactly, Planet of the Ducks. All right, so this could be so in one whole cycle we go to all the different layers that you talked about, the Akashic, Buddhic. I can't remember all of them,
Yes.
but we go all the way up, and we live in every single one of those layers, learning about something in every one of those layers, and then we come back. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you've heard of past life regression.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a person into a relaxed state, and he or she can then start remembering and relating quite specific details from other lifetimes they've had as a human on Earth. But you can also regress people to remember previous cycles. And sometimes
Oh.
people that have these really bizarre dreams, they're remembering when they were in a different life.
Oh, okay, that's fascinating.
And a lot of science fiction writers are tapping into their own memories of
Wow.
cycles.
Yeah. So this 11 represents my human form on Earth. It doesn't represent, sometimes people have
Number 12 is human.
the number what?
You're in your 12th cycle because you had
Right.
11 before. Number 12 is human.
Okay.
Number 11 could have been God knows what. It could have been um,
A
the.
blob. I love this whole idea of being a spacious blob.
Yeah,
Okay. It
yeah.
could have been spacious blob, and it could be on Earth or some other planet. We don't know.
Well,
Right?
it's probably not on Earth.
Okay. Probably not on Earth.
Right.
Are you saying that because I'm Martian-like, or are you saying that? How do you know what planet I was on?
Well, we were talking earlier about how we as eternal beings crave experience.
Mm.
And so we like variety. And so there'd have to be a pretty good reason to come back to the same planet. There,
Ah, I see. God, like we want to travel to a foreign, an unknown location versus just coming back to Earth each time.
right, it's sort of like taking a vacation in a new place.
Yeah.
Curious,
Okay.
what would that be like?
Yeah.
So it's conceivable that in your most recent previous cycle, you incarnated as a dolphin and whale and finished that up and then came back to be a human.
Right.
Probably not. We don't run into that sort of thing very
Right.
much.
Yes. Yeah. Got it. It's probably a spacious blob on a different planet.
Could be.
Okay. All right. All right. So there are folks. I went to Mount Shasta, and I was in a shamanic retreat, and people in Shasta believe in. I think it's called the Palladians. Is that there's the Palladians? Are those different planets? And then people have said I'm Hathor. Like I've had people in my various circles like I'm Hathor. I'm a Palladian. I'm like whatever. Are these the different? Are those the different cycles that you're referring to? I don't know enough about that area, but
It could be. Yeah.
okay.
They could be remembering a recent previous cycle that is meaningful to them. But chances are if they're in a human body right now, they're humans first and foremost.
Right, right, okay, all right. So that cycle could be just one lifetime. That's equal to one lifetime, and then I'm in a different Akashic record as a human, and then like the Buddhic record, all the different layers as a human in each of those different layers.
Well, I wouldn't say one lifetime. So, as a human, you might have 100 lifetimes on the physical plane before you're ready to do something we call cycle off. And cycling off means that, okay, I've graduated from the physical plane school, and I'm ready to go on to start my postgraduate work, which would then be full-time at the next plane, which is called the astral plane.
Okay.
And then when you graduate from, let's say you get your master's on the astral plane, then you go to the causal plane, which is where Michael hails from. And you would then get your doctorate degree. And then as you move through the higher planes, then that would be postdoctorate work. And when you're all done with the highest of the 7 planes, then you rejoin the Tao in total union with the all that is.
Oh, I see. So you're saying how I have no idea how many lifetimes I've had as a human on this plane. I may be on my 105th or 200 or 1,000 lifetimes, right? But it's when I say I'm ready. So like bodhisattvas who decide to stay on this human plane to resolve suffering, like they're here for a long time. Like they may not go to the next layer because they've decided not to.
Yes, right. Okay. Well, a way of putting it is that they graduated and they've come back to be a teaching assistant.
Oh, interesting. Okay, they've graduated, they've come back from the Tao, and then come back and like, I'll be a teaching assistant here on this.
Well, no, what I mean by that is they graduated from the physical plane.
Oh.
So they feel that they have gotten all the lessons that they needed out of being in a human life form, and they feel complete with it. They got their degree. They could be full-time on the next plane, which is the astral, but then they keep coming back as a teaching assistant to help other people.
You know, I have friends of mine who literally say, I'm so sick of, I'm done. I want to like go to the next level. And I don't even think they even know what the next level is because they don't know about the Michael teachings. They don't know about the causal plane or the Akashic plane. They don't know any about those things, but there's just internal sense like, I'm done. Whatever this is as a human, I feel like I'm done. Is that what would sound like when someone's complete?
Well, ironically, no.
Okay.
Ironically, when you're really done, you're at peace with the physical plane and you're not in a big rush to get out of there.
Wow, interesting.
Because you're able to enjoy yourself wherever you are. So your issues are resolved. The people who say I'm done like that, it's usually wishful thinking. They're maybe burned out, maybe they're stressed, they need some healing. Now you can take a vacation anytime you want. So there's the universe is a place of free will, of choice. All is choice, as Michael is fond of saying. So if you as a soul are feeling like, you know what, I need to regroup.
Right.
You could go and take, 100 or 1,000 years off before incarnating again. The caveat there is that if you do that and you have some unfinished business with people who are still incarnating, you might miss your opportunity to handle that if you stay away for too long. So eventually you will get called back.
Right. To come up with some other soul that you'll create some unfinished business with, I presume, or something like that. To resolve whatever it is that the karma that you need to figure out, I presume.
Right, yes. There's a lot of forms of unfinished business. The most famous is karma.
Yeah.
Karma would be like, I killed you in a previous lifetime, now you get to kill me.
Right.
Or, I killed you in a previous lifetime, and now I save your life.
Right. Okay, love it. Well, when you said that, it felt very strong, like you did kill me in another lifetime. Okay. I forgive you. All right.
Thank you. Well, I was just dying to talk to you today, and that's probably why. That's how I'm repaying.
All right. Oh, let's move on, please. All right, so the next is overleaves. What's the whole idea of overleaves?
The soul has a lot of variety built into it. So just from all the things we've talked about in the series so far on the soul level, you can experience a vast range of what life has to offer. Mm-hmm. But to make it even more interesting, for each individual lifetime, you can be very different from the way that you were in other lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that you create something different to make it more interesting is what we call overleaves. Mm-hmm. These are personality traits that overlay or lay on top of your soul traits that may be pointed in different directions. Mm-hmm. So there's some things that are maybe overleaves that are ones that are quite aligned with who you are. Mm-hmm. And there are some that are very different.
Okay.
Yeah, so you are a priest soul, you're inspirational. What if you took on the warrior attitude, which is called cynic? Mm-hmm. That would be a very different kind of lifetime. A priest cynic looks so different than the priest idealist that you are.
Interesting. Okay, so it says here that my needs are their love, knowledge, power, and support. Those are my needs.
No, that's the life quadrant.
Okay, what's that? Is that related to the overleaf?
Right. So let's talk about the 9 needs for a moment.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So this is one of the few places on the chart where we're dealing with the number 9 rather than number 7. Uh-huh. There are 9 needs. There are 9 qualities of life experience that we all have, but we rank them in priority order from 1 to 9 based on what we need to get the job done for us. Mm-hmm. What do we need in order to accomplish our life task? Mm-hmm. And so your top 3 out of the 9 are freedom, expression, and power. Yeah. So having a number 1 freedom need means that in order for you to do what you came on earth to do in this lifetime, you need a lot of flexibility. You need to be free to call your own shots. So I would imagine that freedom has been extremely important to you for your whole life.
It is. It is.
Now the second one, expression, brings out your sage essence twin energy because expression is about expressing yourself and sage is the expression role. Mm-hmm. So you have a great need to express yourself. You could say, putting those two together, you need the freedom to express yourself.
Right. And then how about power?
Power is the need to be able to call the shots, to control your circumstances.
Okay, yes. This is me, in this lifetime at least. But in other lifetimes I may have had, are the other needs, are those the life, knowledge, power, and support?
No, okay. That's something different. That's
okay, I'm sorry. What are the other needs that people have? Because those are 3. Or do Gideon have different ones, just out of curiosity?
Yes. Well, Gideon shares with you an expression need. That's his number 1. And he is a sage, so he really needs to express himself in order to accomplish his task in this lifetime. Right. And he needs to feel heard by others. Very important for all sages, but especially with an expression need. Mm-hmm. Now, his next need is adventure.
Wow, I'm surprised. Oh, no, he likes actually in his mind go out and do different things.
Yeah. So, well, adventure is as you define it. Mm-hmm. So it could be adventures in consciousness, adventures in thought. He could get fulfilled by reading science fiction or anything far out, really interesting. For a lot of people, it's things like traveling. Right. But it's whatever feels adventurous to you. You want that excitement. You want some risk. Right. And then his third need is exchange. And exchange is the need to, for example, sit down with you and just you and really share your gifts with each other, to listen and to be heard and to give you something that only I can give, and to receive something from you that only you can give. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So very important for him also.
Okay. And then there's 4 more that we haven't covered, right? What are the other ones?
Right. Let's see if I can remember them. Security is a need.
Okay.
So some people, in order to do their life tasks, need a lot of security in terms of financial. They need to know that their home base is set up and that they're not going to have to worry about it. It doesn't mean that they are insecure people necessarily.
Right.
It just means that for them to accomplish their life task, that is a very important element for them. Now, let's say you have a security need and also an adventure need. Those are kind of opposites.
Right.
So the adventure need needs to take risks. The security need needs to have the foundation in place.
Right.
And so the type of adventures that someone with a high security need would seek would be quite different than with someone who doesn't have that.
Right. And what are some of the other needs? I'll see if I can find them up in the book as you try to recall them in your
Yeah, okay. So, you know what? I'm just going to look them up. Here we go. Expansion is a common need. Expansion means that you're good at growing things, whether it's growing a garden or growing a business. So you might like to collect things and like to add to your collection. So just taking anything and helping it grow.
Right.
That could be because it fits with your life tasks. It's what you're trying to do. So that's a tool that you need in your toolbox. The acceptance need means that you need to be in a congenial environment. You need to feel like other people are accepting you, that things are comfortable in your environment with other people. And then the communion need, which is a need for community, a need to join with other people in a profound way, generally more than one person. So with a high communion need, you might be someone who is more likely to move into a commune or to get very involved in your local community. You might be someone who loves parties, because especially if you feel like you can share deeply with a lot of people that way.
All right, so is that the total of 9 different needs that you would have in a given lifetime? So you may have your purpose, like let's say you have your sage with the community need. That would mean like you're about expressing yourself in your community. So it would take on that. The overleaf would have kind of that type of flavor. So I'm a priest who cares about freedom. So I'm really going to be trying to preach about freedom. And I'm going to try to express myself because that's another one of my needs. And I would like to have control over the whole thing because power is one of the needs that I have.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, and then there's goals. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals. Tell us a little bit about what those goals are.
So you'll see a list of overleaves. And the first overleaf is the goal. The second is attitude. The third is mode, etc. And I will again show you. Oh, you got it. Great. So there are 7 of each of these, actually, not 9.
Right. Okay.
And the 7 goals are reevaluation and growth. And those are both on the inspiration axis. So those are more internal. Someone with a goal of reevaluation is someone who wants to go within and sort things out. They want to process past experiences. The opposite, growth, is you want to have new experiences.
Right.
So both you and Gideon are in growth.
Right.
And that means that you both seek new experiences. So you're both busy people.
Right.
You tend to overschedule.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, you pack things in because everything's interesting. You want to learn a new language. You want to visit a new country. You want to learn a new skill. Right. You want to read a new book. You want to try a new cuisine. You want to meet new people.
Yes.
So the positive pole of that is comprehension.
Ah,
That means that you learn things.
right.
The negative pole is confusion, and that's where you get overstimulated.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
when that happens, you can use your Michael chart as a tool to show you how to handle that.
Huh.
You can go to the opposite um, goal, reevaluation,
Ah.
and you're going to simplify your life. You're going to
Mm.
take some time off. You're going to veg.
Ah.
So when you feel that need to, stay in bed for a whole day, that is sliding to the opposite.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah, and you probably do that instinctively
Yeah, I
because
do. Like the other day, I was like, I'm so tired. I'm gonna take a nap, and then 3 hours later, I woke up and I'm like, what? That's beyond a nap. That's
right.
hibernation for someone like me. Like, what happened? So,
Yes.
so then that, and so the next pair is discrimination and acceptance, and so that works in a pair as well. Just like those are in the expression axis. So this is the expression axis. Is that right? And so
Yes. Mhm.
discrimination and acceptance. What's that all about?
Um, a goal of discrimination is a desire to learn to separate the wheat from the chaff. It's
Hmm.
about saying no, whereas a life in acceptance is about saying yes.
Mm,
And obviously, we need both.
right.
We need to be able to say no, we need to be able to say yes, and we need to know which is called for when. When you have a lifetime with a goal of discrimination, you're majoring in that. And so you're going to say no a lot. The original term for discrimination was rejection.
Mm,
So, and people with a goal of discrimination, um, if they care about something, then they get very refined in their perceptions about it.
mm,
So, a person in discrimination who loves wine will be very picky about what kind of wine she drinks, and she will know the fine distinctions.
mm-hmm.
The negative pole is where the person in discrimination is just rejecting other people or things without really having a good reason for it, without having processed and really determined
Mm-hmm.
what is worthy of being rejected. They just start rejecting everything.
Mm,
And these are prickly, difficult people in the negative pole.
mm-hmm.
Acceptance people, I have a goal of acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
are the stereotypical Mr. Nice Guy.
Mm-hmm.
And for those in acceptance, it becomes quite hard to say no even when you need to.
Mm,
And if you're a sage with a goal of acceptance, it's even harder because you'll notice on the chart, sage is in the same column as
right.
acceptance.
Right.
So they're the
Mm,
same energies, like in a different octave.
right.
So occasionally, I need to slide to discrimination and learn to be able to say no when that's going to make my yes better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And then how about the next one? Action. There's submission and dominance as the two pairs, or
Right,
a pair rather.
right. So people with a goal of dominance tend to lead, and people with a goal of submission tend to follow.
Hmm.
Now, if they follow in the positive pole, they're having a devotional experience. They're supporting a cause that they really believe in. They're helping people that they really love and that are worthy of their help. But in the negative pole, they're more like doormats. They don't.
Oh,
Um, they're not really having the experience of uplifting from devoting yourself. They just feel subservient, like they're less worthy than
mm-hmm.
others.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of dominance, when you're in the positive pole leadership, you find win-win solutions to things. You really help the whole thing work.
Mm-hmm.
The negative pole dictatorship is just being bossy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then that's like you're asking others to submit to you in that particular case.
You're demanding.
Others is okay, got it. And what's interesting, okay, in the assimilation, in which in this axis there's only one, so there's not a pair. What does that mean? So the goal would be flow.
Yes. So the whole assimilation axis is like the seventh trait, and it steps uh, to the sidelines of the other six, and it provides a resource. So, for example, if you're observing, you have stepped out of the game to observe it.
Mm-hmm.
And all the assimilation axis overleaves are like that.
Mm-hmm.
So people with the goal of flow have the goal of not having a goal.
Oh.
If you have a goal, you're learning how to let go and let God. You're learning to relax and let the river of life carry you along.
Wow.
Now, only in the negative pole is it passive. It's in the negative pole, it's inert. It doesn't, it's like instead of actively responding to the flow of life, you're lying there like a sack of potatoes.
Right, couch potato.
Waiting for the universe to move you, and you can't because you're a sack of potatoes.
Right.
Positive pole is suspension. It's where you're like carried by the river in a light and nimble way.
Mm-hmm.
And people with a goal of flow might choose that so that they can have a rest lifetime. They might choose it in order to access all the other goals, because you can slide to any of the other goals.
Oh, okay. I get it. I think I'm getting something. All right. So let's say you use this thing of my essence as being like a car. I actually have a foundational thing. I'm a Subaru. I could be a Subaru Forester. I could be a Subaru Legacy, but I'm just a Subaru. And then when I come down and reincarnate into a particular soul, someone has a little contract that says, okay, here are the choices, CJ. You could have reevaluation, growth, discrimination, acceptance, submission, dominance. You have different needs. Which one would you like? And so I'm just like sitting there ordering a sandwich with ordering different, I guess like different types of carpets on my car, different types of colors of upholstery, that kind of stuff. That's what these are. So I actually got to choose these things. Unless I start going like, what, why in this life it's because I actually chose this before I came down. Is that right? What these things are? These overlays?
Yes, you chose them. And what you probably did first is you reviewed your most recent lifetime. Mm-hmm. And you thought about what went well, what did not go well, and what would I like my next lifetime to be about.
Okay.
And so then you start thinking in terms of who's going to be my parents. Will they give me those experiences that I need to have for maximum growth? Or sometimes it's just a matter of any parents will do, but you need a certain kind of body.
Right.
So you plan that, and then you start to create the personality that consists of these overleaves and the body type and etc. that will give you the variety of experiences that you want to have in your next lifetime. So if you are saying, you know what, I need a rest lifetime, I need to step away from the grind, you might choose a goal of flow. Mm-hmm. If you would like a lifetime that's really exciting and busy, you might choose a goal of growth. If you've had a hard time accepting things just the way they are, you might choose a goal of acceptance. And so a lifetime and a goal of acceptance means you often create for yourself experiences that you really can't change. You can't do much about it, so you have to learn to accept or be miserable. So, for example, in my life is my mother died when I was 8. So that was something that I couldn't do anything about. Right. And so I could experience rejecting that experience. I could fight it, I could make myself miserable over it, or I could gradually learn how to make peace. This is what is, and find a way to be happy anyway.
Is that what happened for you, given that your goal is acceptance, that you thought, well, and you came to this work in your early 20s, right? That you thought, yeah, my goal is acceptance. Oh, wow. Like, is that when your healing journey happened with your mom? Or did it happen before that?
Well, it's been very gradual.
Yeah.
There have been so many lessons along the way that contributed to that major acceptance lesson.
Yeah.
But it was helpful to have that information, to know. Yes. Yeah. Because in growth, you create life challenges that if you work really hard, you can overcome them. But everything may seem like a lot of work. With acceptance, you tend to have more experiences that all you can really do is learn to find peace around it.
Wow.
So it's a different kind of lifetime.
Right. Wait, and I think you just said something. I create challenges for myself?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right, we have 5 minutes left. Do you think we can cover attitude?
Sure.
Is that enough time, or we can cover as much as we can? So attitude is, I assume, the attitude that we come in when we come into this life.
I have a positive attitude, so I'm going to just believe that we can get through the attitude.
Okay, so there's Stoic is the first one.
Right, so Stoic and Spiritualist, those are the inspirational pair. Stoics look at the world and they say, whatever is out there is not so important. It's more important that I just maintain inner peace. And so these are people who, in the positive pole, tend to let things slide off their back. They just take those things quite so seriously. The positive pole is tranquility. The negative pole is resignation. The negative pole, the person who's a Stoic, doesn't even try to make things better. It's just, oh, what are you going to do? Life sucks, that kind of thing.
Right, okay. Okay. And what's the spiritualist attitude?
Spiritualists are the visionaries. People with a spiritualist attitude look at the world and they say, this could be. They're the dreamers. And they try to make those dreams a reality. Now, this is on the inspiration axis, and spiritualists and Stoics are inspirational people. The spiritualists will tell you, oh, CJ, if you just believe, you can have everything you want. If you want to be president, you can do that. Yes, you can. The negative pole is blind faith, which is where you don't really check out the mechanics and see if it's
right. Okay, got it. Okay, and then we're Gideon and I on this. Mine is on expression as an idealist and skeptic, which is on the expression axis. What are those, and what's Gideon? Is Gideon on the?
Yeah, you have opposite attitudes there.
Oh, okay.
So you're an idealist. I'm also an idealist, and Gideon is a skeptic. So an idealist looks at the world in terms of how it should be, how we can make a better world, always trying to improve things. And it has this built-in optimism that says, yes, we can make the world a better place. Barack Obama is an idealist, and his theme was, yes, we can. Yes, we're just going to roll up our sleeves, we're going to do it. We're going to make the world a better place. And so that can manifest as, you walk into a store and you get an idea. Ideals are about ideas. You get an idea for how they could run the store better. And you'll go to the manager and you'll say, I have this great idea. Why don't you do it this way? And you could make the user experience so much better.
Right. That's me. And what's a skeptic?
Skeptic is the investigator. Skeptics make great scientists and journalists because they take everything with a grain of salt. They investigate. They're not going to be convinced right off the bat of anything.
That's true. Okay, and how about the cynic and realist? We have about 1 minute left. The cynic, realist, and pragmatist.
Well, the realist sees what is, and the cynic sees what isn't. It's sort of like digital. It's ones and zeros. The realist is 1, and the cynic is 0. And so cynics are always kicking the tires, and a lot of comedians are cynics or cynics.
I can see that, yep.
Because there's a lot of humor to be found in that.
Right.
Cynic is one of the harshest overleaves. It can really add a harsh edge to the personality, especially in the negative pole, which is denigration.
Right.
And skeptic can also have a bit of an edge, but cynic more so. Okay. Cynic is acidic. Realist is just matter of fact. These are the facts. This is what is.
Okay.
And the neutral attitude,
Pragmatist.
pragmatist, just looks at the world in a neutral way and says, well, this would be the most practical thing. This is what works.
Okay, got it. And so this is the predominant, because I actually feel like I have all of these different aspects of myself, all these different kind of attitudes. But this is primarily what you're going to be experiencing in most days. Is that what it is?
Right. Yes, it's true of all the overleaves that you can temporarily borrow energies from any of the other ones. And so, even if you don't have a goal of dominance, there are times when each of us can lead.
Right.
But if you have a goal of dominance as your chosen overleaf for that lifetime, then uh, it's going to be the center of your life.
Right.
People in dominance end up leading even if they don't want to. They might be shy. They may not want to be in the spotlight, but people
I see.
putting them in charge anyway.
Right.
Because that's their energy. That is
Okay, so because I'm priest and I'm growth, which is kind of like I'm still in this axis, it's going to be like doubly reinforced, and I'm going to want that. Similar to whether you're saying
yes.
if you're dominant and you're a king, which is probably Donald Trump. Like regardless, he's like that naturally, and then he's going to come in a lifetime with that goal. It's going to
It's going to
pow, like it's going to
yes.
feel that kind of thing. Okay, so for folks who want to go and get one of these readings, I've had a couple people say, now how do I get this reading? So they could go to you to get a reading. It's Shepherd Hoodwin. Here's the name, shepherdhoodwin.com.